Hi everybody, I'm Jamie, the head chef from the Highbury Barn. Today we're going to be making one of our new dishes, a lamb pie. In this recipe today I'm going to use 1 kilo of lamb, 1 large onion, 2 potatoes and 2 carrots. We start off with our lamb. We're going to use the neck of lamb today. It's a very underrated piece of meat. Not many people use the neck of lamb. People usually think it's quite fatty, but I think it's an absolutely beautiful piece of meat. If you cook it in the right way, you can do it justice and it tastes fantastic. We've diced up our lamb, cut into nice little cubes, just like so. Right, now we take our onion and we want to get this into nice dice, which we call in the French way, brunoise. So we just slice down the onion and then we slice into the onion. And so we can get a nice small dice and get the shape that we need. We chop down the onion. There we go, that's all our onions chopped up. Right, we need to get our pan on for our lamb. Get that nice and hot. Seal off our lamb. Next, we want to move on to the onions. We want to slowly sweat the onions. You don't want to rush them, you don't want to destroy the flavour. You cook them nice and slowly on a low heat for about 5 minutes. Always make sure you add a pinch of salt. That's what brings out the sweetness. Okay, next we're going to move on to our potatoes. We want to dice, but we don't want to make them too small. We want to keep everything nice and chunky so you can taste everything that you're eating. Right, now we move on to the carrots. We want to chunk this up into nice big chunks as well, because everything's going to be nice and hearty. And the bigger the veg I find, the more flavour it retains. And we're going to add that to the potatoes. We've got our garlic, but a trick I like to use is if you add a tiny bit of salt whilst cutting, and just use the blade to break through and just break down the garlic. You can try and make yourself a garlic puree. Let's put that in with our carrots and potatoes. So now we're going to add our carrots, garlic and potatoes into our nice sweated down onions. Right, so we turn our heat up on our pan now. We're going to add the tomato puree. Now we add our red wine. So it's very important to reduce your wine and cook off your tomato puree to take away the bitterness. So we take our pan, we got our lamb back to the pan, it's been drained off, and we take our reduced mix and we add it into our pan with our lamb. So we stir that all together. Now the most important part, we're going to add our lamb stock. We're going to use some fresh rosemary. Rosemary works fantastically well with lamb. So we put it onto a nice low heat so we can reduce the mix and cook it nice and slowly, bring the flavour all together and tenderise the lamb and it falls apart in your mouth. So we've got our lamb pie mix, but it's very important to let your lamb pie mix cool down. So if you add your hot pie mix to your puff pastry or any pastry, then it will just fall apart and break, and especially with puff pastry because it's full of butter. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a reasonable size shape that you want the pie lid. You're going to cut around the circle, but you're going to do this twice. So you're going to cut around the second circle. So now we've got our 2 circles cut out of the puff pastry, we're going to layer them on top of each other. We're going to use this to make a nice high puff pastry lid, and all the flavour is going to be inside the pastry lid as well. What we do, we brush our first side with egg yolk, just like so. Then we brush it with a little bit of Dijon mustard as well. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of parmesan in there as well for a bit more flavour. A bit of a different twist on the pie. So with the next pie lid, we're going to add a bit more egg yolk to that as well. And we're going to turn that over, and we're going to stick that on top of our other circle. Now we take our 2 circles, we just want to roll it nice and slowly, turning it as you're doing so. Now at this point you could mark it, which is just for a bit of design really, just to make it look a bit nicer. Now we're going to brush the top of the pie lid with some egg yolk. We do this to get a nice colour on the pastry. So you want to bake that in the oven about 180 degrees for about 8 to 9 minutes. This is our open lamb pie. It's served with a pomme puree, some honeyed and thyme glazed carrots, and a puff pastry lid with Parmesan and Dijon inside.